Let us discuss the next question now. This is from the year 2023. With reference to India, consider the following statements: action and the act under which it is covered. So on one side, we have the actions, and on the right hand side, we have the respective acts under which the actions are covered. How many of the above pairs are correctly matched? So we have to check whether the actions and the respective acts are correctly matched or not. We have the Official Secrets Act, the Indian Evidence Act, and the Arms Act, and we have some actions. Statement 1. Unauthorized use of the police or military uniform. Official Secrets Act. Statement 2. Knowingly misleading or otherwise interfering with a police officer or military officer when engaged in their duties. The Indian Evidence Act. Statement 3. Celebratory gunfire which can endanger the personal safety of others. The Arms Amendment Act of 2019. How many of the above pairs are correctly matched? Now, when you get such questions in the exam, you should try to eliminate and try to answer, because no one can know all the provisions of all the acts, and definitely no aspirant would go and in-depth study the provisions of the Official Secrets Act. So what you can do, you need to use some logic here. Now look at statement number 2. Knowingly misleading or otherwise interfering with a police officer or a military officer when engaged in their duties. The respective act covered is Indian Evidence Act. Now recall what is covered under Indian Evidence Act. As the name itself suggests, when the IPC and CRPC was there, now which is replaced by the BNS and BNSS respectively, the Evidence Act used to work as a supporting act wherein, with respect to the IPC and the CRPC, how the evidence is collected, how the evidence is stored, how the evidence has to be presented in the court, all the legal framework with respect to evaluating the evidence, our burden of proof on whom it is there, the relevancy of facts, whether the confession of a particular case will be accepted or not in a given situation. These kind of things will be there in the Evidence Act. Do you think that misleading a police officer or interfering with the work of a police officer, that will be there in the Evidence Act? Most probably it will be there in the IPC or some other act where there are penal provisions. So it is very unlikely to be there in the Indian Evidence Act. So this is incorrect. Now look at statement number 3. Celebratory gunfire which can endanger the personal safety of others. Actually, this was an amendment which was there in the news, and the Arms Amendment Act actually penalized the celebratory gunfire, where people used to do gunfire during the marriages, processions, ceremonies, festivals. So that was penalized under the Arms Amendment Act of 2019. So this is correct. Now coming to the difficult part here, the Official Secrets Act, not many of us would know, and that is okay. If you know, answer, otherwise better to skip such questions. Unauthorized use of the official police or military uniforms. This is actually covered under the Official Secrets Act. So this is correct. So because statement 2 is incorrect, 2 statements are correct, we have only 2 as the answer. This is how we would answer in the exam conditions. Now let us look at the in-depth explanation. Coming to the Official Secrets Act of 1923. Section 6 of the Official Secrets Act of 1923 says and talks about the unauthorized use of uniforms or falsification of reports, forgery, personation, and false document. Clause 1 talks about if any person, for the purpose of gaining admission or assisting any other person for gaining admission to a prohibited place, or for any other purpose prejudicial to the safety of the state. So if you're trying to go to a prohibited place, or if you're trying on helping any other person to have access to a prohibited place, you will be penalized under this particular clause. And in the subclause says that in order to gain admission to the prohibited place, or in order to help somebody to gain admission to the prohibited place, what you are doing, you are using or you are wearing without lawful authority, that is without having the power to do so. If you are using or wearing any naval, military, air force, police, or any other official uniform, or any other uniform which will nearly resemble the earlier uniforms, or it can deceive somebody that you belong to that authority. For example, you are wearing the military uniform, or the dress you are wearing, it will resemble the military uniform, or it will fool people that make them think that it is you are a military person. All this is penalized. And why? And when you are doing this, when you are not being entitled to do so without lawful authority, you don't have the power. That is, you are not a military person or a naval person or a police, but you are still doing this so that you can mislead the person or mislead the people who are guarding that place, and you are trying to enter the prohibited place, or you are trying to give access to somebody to that prohibited place. So now come back to the statement. Unauthorized use of the official police or military uniform. Yes, this is covered and penalized under the Official Secrets Act. The same Section 7 of the Official Secret Act talks about interfering with the officers of the police or the members of the armed forces. Clause 1 says, no person in the vicinity of a prohibited place shall obstruct, knowingly mislead, or otherwise interference with any police officer or any member of the armed forces of the Union engaged in the guard, sentry, or patrol duty, or in a similar duty related to the prohibited place. So, knowingly misleading or otherwise interfering with the police officer or military officer when engaged in their duties. You're trying to mislead those people so that you can enter the prohibited place or do something which is illegal. So this is also covered under the Official Secrets Act and not the Indian Evidence Act, because under the Indian Evidence Act, whatever you cover, that will be with respect to the admissibility, relevance, reliability of the evidence in the judicial proceedings. How you will collect the evidence, whether some confessions will be accepted or not, how the particular confession has to be taken, how you should demonstrate and submit the evidence to the court. All this will be covered under the Indian Evidence Act. Now the Indian Evidence Act has been renamed as the Bharatiya Saksha Adhiniyam of 2023. Now coming to statement number 3 regarding the Arms Amendment Act. In the Amendment Act of 2019 to the Arms Act, the following new offences were added and made penalized. The first one being, if you are forcefully taking a firearm from a police personnel or an armed forces personnel, you will be punishable with imprisonment up to 10 years or with the life imprisonment along with the fine. The second one which was made penalized was using the arms fires in the celebratory gunfire. What do you mean by celebratory gunfire? You are using firearms during the public gatherings to show off, or you are using it during religious functions or during marriages to show off, or any other functions where you are not authorized to do so, because this will endanger the life of the other people and also the safety of the other people, and you will be punished up to 2 years for this, or with a fine up to 1 lakh, or both. So statement 3 says celebratory gunfire which can endanger the personal safety of others. Yes, the Arms Amendment Act, it is correctly matched. So to solve this question, the key is to understand that this is not covered under the Indian Evidence Act, and this was there in the news. So one could easily answer this, but the difficult guess was the Official Secrets Act. Answer is 2 pairs correctly matched.